Victoria Hale watched the pen fall from her fingers. It hit the marble floor of the executive lobby and traced a lazy, wobbling circle before coming to rest. Across from her, a weary man in a faded blue shirt stood clutching the hand of a small girl whose pink sneaker had come untied. Victoria stared at the application resting on the polished desk. Applicant Daniel Mercer. For a single, disorienting moment, the air left her lungs entirely. "What did you say his name was?" she asked, her voice barely carrying across the room. Daniel blinked, confusion creasing his forehead. "My mother gave it to me," he said. Victoria felt the color drain from her face because 22 years earlier, she had written that exact name on the back of a photograph she had kept hidden from everyone who knew her. And the man standing before her had no clue why any of that mattered. Daniel Mercer had applied for the janitor position because his rent was due in 4 days. That was the plain, unvarnished truth. At 39, he had once repaired elevators in the tallest skyscrapers across Chicago, and he knew how to work with his hands, how to diagnose problems, and how to stumble through his front door exhausted without a single complaint crossing his lips. But after his wife, Anna, passed away 3 years earlier, everything fell apart. Their daughter, Lily, was only 5 at the time. Daniel started turning down jobs so he could be home with her, and then the elevator company downsized. One missed paycheck bled into 2. Their savings melted away into groceries, school clothes, and hospital bills that kept arriving long after Anna was gone. Now Lily was 8, and Daniel had learned the hard way that being a devoted father did not stop life from shoving envelopes stamped final notice through the mail slot. So on a bright Monday morning, he pulled on his cleanest shirt and walked through the doors of Hale Global headquarters. Lily had no school that day because of a teacher training session, and Daniel could not afford child care. "Stay close to me," he told her. "I always stay close," she replied, and that was almost true. The interview lasted less than 10 minutes. The facility manager barely glanced at Daniel's application. "You have no janitorial experience," the manager observed. "I have cleaned every place I have ever worked," Daniel answered. The manager did not smile. "That is not what I meant," he said. Daniel nodded and thanked him anyway. As he turned to leave, Lily pointed toward the enormous glass lobby. "Dad," she said, and he followed her gaze. An elderly man in a wheelchair had knocked over his coffee, and the dark liquid was spreading across the polished floor, inching dangerously close to an electrical outlet. 3 employees stepped around the spill without stopping. Daniel did not. He grabbed a stack of napkins from a nearby cafe, unplugged the extension cord, and cleaned up the mess before anyone could slip. The old man looked embarrassed. "I am sorry," he said. Daniel handed him the last clean napkin. "No reason to be," he replied. From the second-floor balcony, Victoria Hale watched everything unfold. And when the facility manager returned Daniel's application to her assistant for routine processing, Victoria caught sight of his name. That was when the pen slipped from her fingers. Victoria was one of the wealthiest women in America, but money had never bought her the one answer she truly wanted. When she was 19, she had fallen in love with a young man named Samuel Mercer. Samuel was brilliant, stubborn, and poor. He repaired radios at night while studying engineering during the day. Victoria's father despised him, not because Samuel was cruel, but because Samuel had nothing. Her father had spent years building Hale Industries and believed that love was a luxury people like Victoria could not afford. When Victoria discovered she was pregnant, she panicked. Her father promised to destroy Samuel's future if she stayed with him. Young and terrified, Victoria made the worst decision of her life. She disappeared. By the time Samuel learned the truth, Victoria had already lost the baby during complications, or so she had been told. She never saw Samuel again, not until she read the name on Daniel's application. Mercer, the same age Samuel's son would have been. Victoria told herself it was impossible. Names meant nothing. Still, she could not let it go. She ordered her assistant to find Daniel before he left the building. Daniel thought he was being called back because he had done something wrong. Instead, he was escorted to the top floor. Lily clutched his hand as the elevator doors opened onto a silent office bathed in sunlight. Victoria stood beside the window and she looked at Daniel for a long, searching moment. "Did you know your father?" she finally asked. Daniel stiffened. "That is a strange interview question," he said. Victoria looked down. "You are right," she admitted. Daniel relaxed slightly. "My dad died when I was 12, he said. "What was his name?" Daniel's eyes narrowed. "Samuel," he answered. Victoria closed her eyes. The room went completely still. Lily looked between them. "Do you know my grandpa?" she asked. Daniel gave a small, awkward laugh. "No, sweetheart," he said, but Victoria whispered yes. Daniel turned toward her, and suddenly the billionaire CEO looked less like one of the most powerful women in the country, and more like someone standing at the edge of a memory she had spent decades trying to bury. Victoria told him only part of the truth. She said she had known Samuel when they were young. Daniel sat down slowly. "My father never talked about you," he said. "I did not deserve to be talked about kindly," Victoria replied. That answer made Daniel uneasy. Then Victoria asked the question that changed everything. "Do you have any family?" she asked. Daniel looked at Lily. "Just her," he said. "What about Samuel's family?" Daniel shook his head. "None that I know of," he said. Victoria stepped closer. "Your father, did he ever tell you where you were born?" Daniel frowned. "At a hospital in Milwaukee," he said. Victoria's face changed again because Daniel had been born in Chicago. She knew that much. For the first time, Daniel sensed that something was seriously wrong. "Ms. Hale," he said quietly, "what are you not telling me?" Victoria opened her mouth, then stopped. Her assistant entered with a folder. Victoria took it and stared at the first page. Daniel saw her hands begin to shake. "No," she whispered. He stood. "What is it?" he demanded. Victoria looked at him, her eyes filling with tears she refused to shed. "Not yet, Daniel. Your birth certificate was amended when you were 3 months old." Daniel felt Lily squeeze his fingers. "My mother was ill," he said. "My father said there were complications." Victoria nodded slowly. There were. The folder contained hospital records recently digitized after an old legal archive had been acquired by Hale Global. Hidden inside was a sealed document. A DNA sample, a maternity record, a name, Victoria Hale. Daniel stepped backward. "No," he said. Victoria's voice broke. "I thought you died," she whispered. Daniel stared at her as if she had spoken a foreign language. Then he looked at Lily, then back at the woman who had just told him that his entire life might be built on a lie. The billionaire CEO had not frozen because she recognized his father. She had frozen because the man applying for a janitor job appeared to be the son she had mourned for 39 years. Daniel left the building without taking the job. For 3 days, he ignored Victoria's calls. He did not want her money. He did not want a mansion, and he did not know whether he wanted another mother. The woman who raised him had been his mother in every way that counted. She had packed his lunches, held him when he was sick, and worked double shifts to give him a better life. But she had died 5 years earlier without ever revealing the secret. Daniel was angry not only at Victoria, but at Samuel, at the world, at himself for wanting answers. Then Lily found him sitting alone in the kitchen. "Are you sad a little?" she asked. "Do you have 2 moms now?" Daniel almost laughed. "I do not know," he said. Lily climbed into his lap. "You can have one in heaven and one you just met," she said. For the first time in days, Daniel smiled. Children had a way of making impossible things sound simple. He returned to Hale Global the following Monday. Victoria was waiting, but Daniel stopped her before she could speak. "I took the job," he said. She blinked. "The janitor job?" "Yes." Victoria looked hurt. "Daniel, you do not have to," she said. "I know," he replied. He paused. "But I need to." He needed work. He needed routine. And maybe someday he needed to understand the woman standing in front of him. Victoria offered him a private office, a management position, anything he wanted. Daniel refused. "I applied to clean floors," he said. "Do not turn me into a charity project." Victoria nodded. That was her first lesson from the son she had lost. Love could not begin with control. So Daniel became a janitor at Hale Global. And every evening Victoria would sometimes see him through the glass walls, pushing a cart down the hallway, humming softly while Lily did her homework in a nearby conference room. Weeks passed. Then one night Victoria found Daniel repairing a loose wheel on his cleaning cart. "You could have asked maintenance," she said. Daniel smiled without looking up. "I was maintenance before I was a janitor," he said. Victoria sat beside him on the floor. For the first time in 40 years, neither of them tried to fix the past. They simply sat there. 2 strangers, 2 family members, 2 people learning that blood could reveal a connection, but only time, kindness, and forgiveness could turn it into love. And sometimes the greatest thing you can find after losing your way is not a fortune, a title, or a second chance. Sometimes it is a person who was never supposed to be gone.